Hi, Vanessa. Welcome to the podcast. What is social therapeutic horticulture and how can it help teenagers?
Well, hopefully the clue is in the name. First of all, it's social. It's about getting people together and connecting. Therapeutic, it does you good. Horticulture, it's gardening. I mean, it's a long, complicated title, isn't it? But basically, it's about getting young people outdoors in the fresh air, talking to each other, engaging in something they wouldn't normally do. And if you contrast that to sitting in their bedrooms, doom scrolling through YouTube and getting stressed and anxious, it's a game changer for them.
Absolutely. And recently I was able to join you at your new HQ when we had the opening party. So it'll be interesting to find out, how did Green Hub start?
Gosh, it's an interesting journey we've been on. I mean, I was only thinking the other day, here we are in the September 25. It literally began September 2020. We were in the middle of those horrible COVID days. And I had a connection from an old friend of mine. She was also one of my clients. She's my chiropractor, and she asked me would I be interested in getting involved in a project she was involved in. And I'd been going through a few health struggles myself and had stepped back from my business. It was just a terrible year for everybody, wasn't it? So I did find myself wondering, you know, who am I? What am I? So I jumped at the chance. That sounds like me. And we all sat around in a garden one day talking about what the possibilities might be. She had a green space right behind her clinic and was really interested to see whether that could be used for therapeutic purposes. Tona, my co-founder, she's a chiropractor, specializes in pediatrics. And she's just been seeing so many more young people through her clinic, and stress was an overriding factor. So we sat and talked about the possibilities, and I was really intrigued to see how other people had so much experience in mental health, in horticulture, working with young people, none of which I have. But I knew in that moment I had something particular to offer, which is my business growth background. So from that moment, we just decided to tackle it as something that could become something. And although we started really small, we didn't get going until July 21. There was a lot of work to do in terms of safeguarding policies. That was one of the things we worked on, and all the other policies, but also making the garden safe. It was full of junk and all sorts. So we did one of those kind of DIY SOS, but without the BBC present. But local builders and all sorts of people got involved, and we got had an amazing weekend in May 21, I think that was. And there we were, ready in July 21, and we started finding some young people. And so it began. And that year we worked with just 9 young people. And here we are 4 operational years later, and we've now worked with 200 families.
Wow.
And we have really considerable ambition. I said earlier, it's the simplicity, and that I think is the key. This isn't difficult to do. There's a lot of green space out there. There are a lot of amazing people with amazing skills in gardening. They're passionate about gardening. People have had, parents, teachers, people who've worked in the health service have a passionate interest in young people. People who have experienced mental health issues themselves and could see this could make a difference. So finding volunteers is easy. It's not expensive to deliver in terms of it's a space, given some activities to do. So it's something that is repeatable quite easily. And so we've grown. We're now, I think, 4 garden spaces now, and ambitions to carry on. So yeah, it's been interesting, and the results we get are extraordinary. We hear from parents the difference it makes, and that makes all the hard work worthwhile.
You've got a fantastic team of volunteers and staff
Yes.
behind the Green Hub, and I was fortunate enough to deliver safeguarding training recently to them.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, it's gone up there with one of my most favourite training sessions I've ever
Oh,
taken,
really?
due to the fact that everyone was so engaged, everyone's so passionate. They all have a story to tell as well, and they have. And going back to that word passion, to support young people, especially with their mental health. There's no judgment there. It's and actually just they took a sheer interest in getting into the outdoors. I know myself that I find actually getting outdoors really helps me. Just this morning, taking my dog out at silly o'clock, watching the sunrise down by the river, it does improve your mental health, and getting away from screen time really does help that. Have you seen this approach to connecting with nature positively impact the young people that you're working with?
Oh, there's absolutely no doubt about it, because I think the common thread with the young people that we see is a loss of connection, that they withdraw into themselves for whatever reasons they've come to us. And there's a whole variety of factors that have got them into a state of stress and anxiety. But typically, they withdraw. They'll either withdraw from family members, often, stop talking to parents, they'll withdraw from friendships, and they often withdraw from school. In Surrey, it's known as EBSNA, so emotionally based school non-attendance. And 20% of young people are not in school full time. That doesn't mean to say they're absent, but 10% or more of the time they're not in school. And even if they are in school, they may well be in pupil referral units or aren't fully attending timetables. So they've stopped connecting in those normal social groups that we associate with being young people. So the first thing this does is force them to, not force, that sounds like we're compelling them, but just the change of environment means they're suddenly connecting with new people. And I remember really early on, one of the youngsters said to us, "I've spoken to more new people today than I have done in the last year." And so, there's 3 or 4 volunteers there. There'll be up to 8 young people. And suddenly they're all together. They're working side by side. So we're not forcing them to have in-depth conversations, but, pass me the trowel, or, can you show me how to plant a tomato, or whatever it may be, forces people to socialize and connect. It's one of what's known as the 5 ways to well-being, and we're not going to say we invented those, because we didn't, but we certainly have adopted them, and they've been adopted by the NHS and by Mind. And the 5 ways are proven to make a difference, and the biggest and most powerful one of them is connection. We are social beings. We're hardwired to connect. That's our success as a species has been dependent on our ability to work together and to cooperate. And you take that away from people, and they flounder. So that's the main thing I think that it does. And then, of course, you've got the fresh air and outdoors, and they're learning things. It improves their confidence, that the endorphins change, that they'd say they have new skills, and they're volunteering and giving back. And again, all proven factors that make us feel better. And we deliver on all 5 of those. And so, in many ways, it's not a surprise it makes a difference.
It's just fantastic concept, and you make it sound so simple. And obviously, there's a lot of work behind it, but
Mm,
the impact it's having is just
yeah.
incredible. It really is. What do you find the most common challenges that young teenagers that you're working with? What are they finding? What are you coming up against?
What's the reasons they come to us?
Yeah,
Mm, Well, we talked about COVID earlier, and that certainly has had a massive impact. This year, the group that have just gone through GCSEs were said to be the most impacted by COVID, because they were just at that school transition stage when COVID hit. So they didn't get those rites of passage out of middle school into senior school, all the introductions and all those important things. So that has been the creation of a lot of social anxiety. We started out by saying we were going to work with 13 to 18-year-olds. We then changed that to 11 to 18-year-olds because we were finding so many youngsters. But we've recently changed it to 10 to 18s because the transition out of middle school into senior school is a really serious stressor.
yeah,
Um, and I think you combine that with the other major factors is the advent of social media and smartphones. Now, I'm older than you, Chris, and I go back to when I was one of those young teenagers. That doesn't mean to say people weren't chitty to you at school, because yes, they were. But when you came home, it ended.
yeah.
Whereas now it doesn't. And they bring it back with them, and it's on their phones, and it's
Mm,
pinging them at 11 o'clock at night. And they're scrolling through their phones at 3 in the morning when they should be asleep. And those together have had a massive impact. And if you look at the mental health statistics from about 2010, it is extraordinary.
mm,
And so those are the major ones. The other ones we're seeing a fair amount around gender and identity. A lot of young people have anxieties about who they are and how they fit in. Um, Domestic abuse, the family trauma, comes up from time to time. We've had refugees from Ukraine and from Syria, bereavement, bullying, all those terrible things that, when you're somewhere between kind of 11 and 16 or whatever, you shouldn't need to be dealing with. But they
Mm.
are.
Yeah, and it's not just the young people that you're supporting. You actually
No.
provide services for adults as well, or for the parents.
Well, what we discovered was, we talk to every single parent who refers to us. We have, a detailed conversation with. Now, the younger ones in particular, we have a reasonably good chance they'll come to the garden and have a visit and find out about it. The older ones may struggle with that if they're, they may be at that moment in their lives where just aren't listening to what mum and dad suggest. So we can have that conversation, but it can make absolutely no difference. It's nice that that person has been heard. We've taken time on the phone to listen to them, but what more can we do to help? So it was for that reason we decided to start Parent Hub, because even where we can't help the teens, we can at least support parents, because however little help there is for teenagers, oh my goodness, there's a good deal less for parents.
Mm.
And parents we know tend to prioritize themselves lower than their children. So they'll be the last people they'll think about. So giving time out in a month for parents to be able just to sit around with other like-minded parents who are going through the same hell that they are going through, and to laugh and to cry and to share stories and share strategies is really powerful. And a bit earlier this year, we did the first of our parent wellbeing sessions. So it began because we know they prioritise self-care very low. Well, take some time out. It's good for you. It's important. You can help your teenager more if you help yourself. So we did an art evening in one of our garden spaces, and they went out and picked flowers, and then we had a local artist, encourage them to paint. They all had a little tiny canvas, and the results were just stunning. But mostly, it was a bunch of people sat round, talking, enjoying the early evening sunshine, painting, doing something I wouldn't normally do. And we're going to do a lot more of that sort of thing.
That's such a fantastic idea, and yeah, you're right. Parents do put themselves
Yeah.
far lower
You're a
in
parent, you know how it is.
absolutely, yeah, and so yeah, it's really made me think actually. Just sorry, you completely. That was such a great thing that I completely threw me.
Well, you said earlier you were out with the dog this morning. I mean, those
Yeah,
moments of peace and reflection, time out in your day, just really important. It often doesn't take very much, and it may or may not be gardening for you. I mean, I'm a passionate dressmaker. For me, it's where I can lose myself. Just
yeah.
finding those moments where you can just have some me time is incredibly powerful and refreshing, and it's easy to forget.
Do you have any success stories that spring to mind from the last
Well,
few years?
I mean, there are so many, but two in particular jump into my head. One of our very first teams, I remember it right at the beginning. It took 3 goes for her to get out of the car to even come through the door in terms of her first visit. She then stayed with us through that, the first program, and she went on to become what we call a senior team. So they become sort of like a quasi volunteer. So they come a bit earlier, stay a bit later, help the younger ones, show them stuff. So it can be really good for their self-esteem and confidence.
Huh.
And she only left us when she went off to university. And just seeing how she's blossomed and transitioned is just extraordinary. So really proud of her. She's an amazing young lady. And then another young lady who's also become an adult volunteer, and just hearing her talk about how she described her relationship with school as being phobic. And she said, moving from that to a point where she was accepted at all 5 of her chosen universities, and she's now gone off uh, she's literally just left us to head off into university. So those are 2 young people who are really close to us because they've chosen to volunteer with us. But to see that transition is extraordinary, and so many others that we've not, that don't come back to us in that way. But we get those amazing stories. We focus a lot on evaluation. It's interesting getting stats out of teenagers, getting them to fill in form stuff. Not so easy, but we work hard at it. But the qualitative stories from parents, those are the ones, when somebody says, "We feel like we've got our daughter back."
Oh, lovely.
It's really powerful.
That is. Yeah. Oh, well done for you and your team. That's incredible work and service that you provide. If someone's interested in how they can support, either financially or in person, how can they find out more about your charity?
But I'm sure you'll stick the web link up for me, Chris. So it's
Yeah, absolutely.
greenhub.org.uk. There's all sorts of things you can click on there. So volunteering, it is a powerful one. There's a massive way people can help. We're trying to expand. We want to do more gardeners locally. So if you're interested in gardening, young people, please volunteer. But there are loads of roles that aren't that. So going out, chatting with referrers, supporting in the gardens in other ways. So hit the volunteer button. You can refer through the website, and you can donate as well. We are never shy of taking your money. We're a small charity, but we still need funding. So anybody that was interested in sharing something with us, we'd be incredibly grateful.
That's brilliant. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Vanessa,
Hey, my
and well
pleasure.
done to your team for such a great service that you provide.
No, it's been a privilege to be here, Chris. Thank you, and thank you for what you've been doing to us. You have successfully made safeguarding more interesting.
Oh, that's very kind
Who
of you.
knew that was possible?
I try my best. That's brilliant. Oh, what a great marketing line to leave on. But yeah, if you want to find out how Cornerstone can support your charity or organisation with safeguarding, then please do visit our website, cornerstonesafeguarding.co.uk. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the follow button so you don't miss another episode of Safeguarding Redefined. Thank you.